Welcome to another Narc Survivor live video. In this video, I'm going to be speaking about what narcissists want for you after the discard. Because you might assume that since they devalued you, they made you feel like you're not good enough. Like all of these things are wrong with you. You're bad, you're crazy. And they went around and they smeared your name to everyone. So naturally you might assume, okay, so there's a problem there. Things can be improved. So they just want you to be better. They want you to become a better person. They want to see your life improve. They want to see you become healthier and live a successful life. But if you thought that, you would be mistaken, because that is not what they want for you at all. That is never what they want for their victims. And in fact, the entire time why they devalued you, why they minimized your value, why they took value away from you, it's because they knew that you were more valuable than them. You were better than them in so many ways, and that is why they targeted you. Because they wanted to get around you and absorb some of that value for themselves. They wanted a piece of the action, a slice of the pie. But the reality is they didn't even deserve to be in your presence. And yet they expected you to see it as a privilege to be around them. When you're the one who was putting out, you're the one who was giving, and you're getting nothing back in return. And yet they devalued you, they put you down, they made you feel small, they minimized you, they made you feel like something was wrong with you. All the while, they were abusing you. So of course everything's not going to be perfect, of course everything's not going to be right, because they're doing all of these things to you. And yet they turn a blind eye to that. That's exactly what they do, is that they will push and provoke you. And then at the end of it, they would just stand back and act like they had no involvement, like they had no connection to it. And they might even pull out their phone and record you to make you look like the bad person, because they're completely delusional. They want to support this false narrative, a false reality, and just paint you in a bad light. But they have to go through so much effort, so much work to achieve that, because that is not actually how it is in reality. And then after they devalued you, they discard you, they start a smear campaign against you. They try to get everyone to see you in the same way. They turn people against you. They try to make you look bad. They're doing all of these things because they don't want you to move on. They don't want things to get better for you. They don't want you to become healthier. They don't want you to heal. They don't even want you to try to correct or make amends with anything that's meant to have gone wrong with them. Because if they did, they would have at least told you what the problem was. Usually they don't, unless it has something to do with money. So even then, they're just expected a payout. They don't want anything to improve for you. It's just all about them. It's all about what they can get from you. And most of the time, what they want is a feeling of elevation above you, of being superior to you, better than you, more normal than you are. Because here's the thing, these types of people are not normal. They give you this illusion, this facade, that they're a normal person, like they're just like us. Like they're loving, caring, considerate and compassionate, doing anything that they can to help you, to support you. And as though they want the best for you. because of course that's what normal people want. They want to see things getting better. They want to see people improve. But they are not normal people at all. So they want the opposite of anything that is normal. They do not want you to progress. They do not want things to get better for you. They want you to go down. They don't ever want you to heal. And that is why the moment that you begin to make sense of things, you begin to move on. You understand what you went through. You no longer need their closure, their validation. The moment that happens, then they come back. If they think you're still susceptible to their manipulation. If not, then they will stalk and harass you. They will sabotage you. They will bring in their flying monkeys to do their bidding on their behalf. All of these things to interfere, to disrupt what you have going on. Because they do not want you to be awake and aware. They do not want you to move on. They want you to remain stuck for the rest of your life to where you're constantly thinking about them. You're constantly thinking about the things they did to you. And that's really what they want. They want you to lay in the pit of misery that they left you in. While they're watching you from afar, they're going off living their lives, and now and again they'll peer into your situation to see how things are going with you, to see if you're still laying on the floor, suffering, you're miserable, traumatized after everything they did to you. And then sometimes, and this will help you to understand why they do this, because sometimes they'll take some time out from how they're so busy with their new source of supply. They'll take some time out from that when maybe they're having an argument, maybe when things are going wrong, and then they'll come back to you. And they may return to the love bombing again. They may come in like they are this rescuer, this hero, and you may mistake it as though they actually care. As though there's actually something good in them. When actually, no. They're only doing that because they're bored of their new situation with the new source. That's the only reason why they're coming back. So even then, even when you think there could actually be some light at the end of the tunnel, there could actually be a good bone in their body, there isn't. There isn't at all. They only do that because they're bored. It's not because they care about you. It's not because they feel bad about what they did and now they're coming back trying to help you. They do not think that way. They do not care about anyone but themselves. And that's why they really don't want to see you moving on. Even when they do come back and they love bomb you because they're bored with a new source, even when they do that, notice how no matter how much time goes by, things never actually progress. Things never get better. You never move forwards. If anything, it's one step forward, two steps back. They come in and they act normal for a little while, but then before you know it, they're back to the same old tricks. They're back to doing what they did before. And this is just the only way that it's ever going to be with them, because they do not want to see you moving on. But here's the thing, because their behavior reveals a lot about what is going on in their minds. It reveals a lot of things about them. Once you understand the psychology of the human mind, why don't they want you to heal? Why don't they want you to move on? And it's because they can't heal, or they don't want to heal. They can't move on. Things can't get better for them. They can't move forward. They can't progress because they lack the hope and belief in themselves. So how are they going to have any belief in you? If anything, they may just see it as though once you're back on top, once you're recovered, things are going better for you, then you're going to betray them. You're going to manipulate them. You're going to exploit them. You may abandon them or expose them. That's how they're looking at it. And that's why they fear you moving on. They fear things getting better for you. Because they already know that's exactly what they would do if they haven't done it already. They've already betrayed you. They've exploited you. Maybe they've started a smear campaign against you as well. So they're anticipating that you may do those things if you are in a position of power, if you become stronger, and if you move on. That's why that's the last thing they want to see. Also, we have to consider that they are very jealous, very possessive and controlling. And they derive a sense of power and control from keeping you under their spell, from keeping you stuck. So they may also fear that someone else may come in and manipulate you better than they did. Someone may come in and take you away from them. When they derive a sense of power and control from you, a sense of balance and stability. But then if someone takes you away, they can no longer get that. So these are some of the reasons why they don't want you to move on. They don't want you to heal. Because remember, they have a void that can never be filled. They can't sustain themselves. They can't regulate their own emotions. They're never happy. They're always miserable. So they need you as this external source of supply to prop them up. And sometimes they may just want to observe your suffering, the effects of everything they did to you. Now that might make them feel better about themselves. But then other times they may come in as the hero, the rescuer, as though they're there to help and support you. Because it all serves a purpose for them, depending on how they feel in that moment. And depending on how aware you are of what they're trying to do to you. Because here's the thing, the only way they can get back in and manipulate you again is if you still believe in the illusion. Once you become awake to it, they're not going to want to be around you. And instead, they will settle for stalking and harassing you and enforcing their flying monkeys. But this is how you should know that when they go off and they're flaunting their new source on social media, it's nothing like what it seems. It's not how they're portraying it to you. Because you've got to think, if they're really having such a great time, they're happy, they've moved on, they're not thinking about you, and in fact, you're the one who is missing out on something. If that's really the case, then why are they still attached to you? Why are they still worried about what you're doing, what you've got going on, who you're with? Why do they even care? Because if you understand the psychology of the human mind, it doesn't make any sense. Happy people are not too worried about the things going on around them, unless they see someone in distress. And they may show concern for that person. They may want to help them. Because when we're up, we want to see other people up as well. When we're having a good time, we want to see other people having a good time. That's just how it is. But as the old saying goes, misery loves company. So if you're sitting alone at home right now, and you're looking on your social media, you see the narcissist with the new source. Maybe they're taking selfies, they've got their arms around each other. They're laughing and smiling. Looks like they're having such a great time without you. It's all a lie, it's an illusion. It's fake. Because when a person is happy and they're really having a good time, they don't want someone to feel like they're missing out. Because then you can't have a good time. Then you're not going to be feeling too good about yourself. You're going to be feeling shame. And narcissists are not immune to shame. In fact, they are shame-based people who are doing everything they can to avoid reflecting on their shame. And that's why you're in the position that you're now in. Because they're deflecting their shame onto you, leaving you feeling bad about yourself, leaving you feeling insignificant, not good enough, as though you don't matter to them, as though they can just leave you like you never existed. Yeah, they've deflected their emotions onto you. But that doesn't mean that it just goes away, it stays with them. They just pretended to have a good time without you. And I know it can look quite realistic when you see their posts on social media with the news source. It looks like they're having a good time. At least to the untrained eye. Because once you've done all of the research and you've seen so many of these situations, these scenarios, you can tell what's real and what's not. And here's the thing, the majority of what you see on social media is fake. As Dr. Ramani said, the better a relationship looks on social media, the more toxic it's likely to be in real life. And that's really how it is. When something's real, you don't care too much to showcase even the bad aspects of it. The pitfalls, the flaws. Because that's what being real is. That's being authentic. Because nothing is ever perfect. No one is having a great time and being happy every day. It's never like that. And I know that better than most people because I've been traveling the world for the last 5.5 years now, and I've seen it all. As you may have seen on my Instagram, that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Things do go wrong sometimes, and I post those things as well. Because for me, it's not just about having this perfect life, or trying to at least. I like to keep it real. For me, life is an adventure. And I welcome both the good and bad parts of it. But as for these narcissists, they really want to drive it home to you that they've got it all together, that they're having such a great time with you, they're living their best lives. Now hold on a minute. Just think about that for a moment. Does that sound familiar? Maybe you've been trying to improve things in your life with yourself. You've been trying to be better. In the beginning, they were mirroring you. They were copying everything that you are and appealing to your interests and ideals, making you believe that they're the same as you. And then when they discard you and they move on with a new source, they're taking that with them. They're acting as though pretty much like now they're you. Everything that you wanted, everything that you desired, now they've got that with someone else. Now they're doing that. Now they use it because it can manipulate the next person. While at the same time, they can use it to hurt you. So that's what they're trying to do. Now that's how, think about it, it relates to you as your individual experience. Because think about it like this. I mean, we can talk about anything, whether it's food. Not everyone likes the same food. Or cars, not everyone likes the same car. Or going on vacation, not everyone wants to go to the same country. We all have our own individual tastes, our own individual preferences. And that should make you think, not only when they came in at the beginning and it's like, they've got so much in common with you, they like what you like, but then also at the end, also in the middle as well, when they devalued you, because if you're so alike, then how are they now turning against you? And now they don't like the things that they liked at the beginning. And then at the end of it, they're recreating this experience of what they had with you, but with someone else. And they're feeding it back to you. And it's like they're trying to make you believe that your ideal, your fantasy, your taste, your preferences, now they're participating in that. They're consuming that with someone else. Think about how that makes no sense at all. Because they can't just move on and be you in the next situation. They can't just like the things that you like. They can't just be about what you're about when they quite clearly weren't that with you. Because if that was the case, you would have got along fine. You would have had such a great time with them. There would have been no problems at all. And this is how you know it's all fake. Everything that they're doing in this next situation, it's all a lie. And it could literally be a situation where it's like they go into a certain restaurant, they're going on a certain trip somewhere, and they're not even having a good time. They don't even like it. They're just doing it because they know you like it. And they want to make you think that they are having this experience that you liked, that you wanted, and as though they're experiencing that now with someone else. And it can kind of make you feel like you've been robbed of a part of yourself. But then back to the psychology of this, think about what compels a person to want to create these scenarios that they're not really even interested in at all. What compels them to do that? And of course, it comes back to envy and jealousy, a desire to possess and control you, and to derive a sense of power and control over you. So that's really what this is about. And what are they really envious and jealous of? I would say it's the fact that your experiences are real. They're authentic. You actually have your own taste, your own opinions, your own preferences. There's things that you are passionate about, things that mean something to you. Well, they don't have any of that. They don't have things that they're passionate about. They don't have things that mean anything to them. They don't. And that's how they go from one source to the next, taking bits and pieces of them, not so much things that they like or that they're interested in, but it's more about what response is this going to get me from other people? What supply is it going to get them? The validation, the admiration, the attention. It's not like with you, where you try a certain food or you drive a certain car, you go on a trip, and you're actually experiencing it, enjoying it. It's making you feel something. It's not like that with them. And this is why whenever you say narcissist, what do? When they have something of value, when they have something good, or when they can make it look like they do, they actually don't find any fulfillment in it directly. Their fulfillment comes from knowing that other people are observing it, from trying to make other people envious or jealous of them. And that's why they've got to filter everything through you, so that they can live vicariously through your experience of it, because they can't experience it directly. And this is why they're always so angry, so miserable. They're never satisfied. Just remember when they were with you, no matter what you did, it was never good enough. They were never happy. They were never satisfied with you. Not because you weren't good enough, but because they're not good enough for themselves. Nothing will ever be good enough for them, because they've got no inner core, no inner sense of value, no identity. So they can't generate their own power and energy from within. This is why they're so hooked on your feelings, your emotional reactions, your thoughts about something, your perspective. They're so hooked on your passion, your enthusiasm, your desire. Even if they're just discarding you and trying to get you to long and yearn for them. Almost like they want you to beg, and you're like in this state of desperation. And yet at the same time, they will shame you for needing them. They will shame you for your passions, your interests, anything that you like to do. And why? Because they're envious and jealous. Because they don't have that. They don't have that feeling, that passion, that drive, that enthusiasm. And just think about it for a moment, because if they did have that, they'd probably be running right back to you, and you would be having such a great time together, because then you'd be on the same frequency, you'd be on the same wavelength. Instead, when you tried to build a relationship with them, they turned against you, they devalued you, they made you think that something is wrong with you. You're bad, you're crazy, and that's why you can't share that type of experience. Funny thing is, you could do that perfectly fine before you got involved with them. So the reality is that it's just because you're around them and because they can't share that experience. It's because they don't have those same feelings of passion and enthusiasm like you do, where something actually means something to you, where you're actually interested in something for real. But they don't want to accept it. They're delusional. And that's where they go off and they start a smear campaign against you. Not just to convince everyone else, but to convince themselves that it is you and not them. And then they triangulate you with the new source. They make you feel like the new source is better in some way. And as though now they're sharing that experience with them. And it's ideal and they're so in love. They're having such a great time. Guess what? It's all fake. It's all fake. All a narcissist really experiences is anger and shame, maybe fear as well. Just negative emotions. They don't experience positive emotions like we do. Even desire. They don't even experience desire. It's more just pride and entitlement. So forget about the higher vibrational emotions, such as peace, joy, love. They'll never get to experience that because there's no acceptance. There's no acceptance that they have a problem, they have a disorder. They would have to accept that first. And of course, as we know, they're never going to do that. And yet we wonder why they don't want us to move on. They don't want us to progress. They don't want things to get better for us. This is why, because they have no passion, no drive, no enthusiasm, no feeling, no satisfaction, no happiness with anything in their lives. Even if it does look like they're moving on. Even if in some situations, if you were dealing with a wealthy narcissist and they've got mansions around the world, supercars, private jets, super yachts, what good is that? What's the point if they can't even feel anything? They can't even enjoy it. So of course, they don't want to see you moving on. They don't want to see you having anything. Just to remind them that you can be happy with a fraction of what they have in those situations. Because that's really how it is. And I remember anytime that I was enjoying anything, and I'm sure you may remember this as well in your experiences, where it's like, even just simple, basic things. You could just be eating a meal at a restaurant, playing a game on your phone. You look up at the narcissist for a moment. You get that narcissistic stare. They're just looking in your eyes. They're examining your facial expressions because they're just fascinated. How you can be enjoying things, how you can be happy, how you can find meaning You can find a purpose to things. It means something to you. You feel something. Because guess what? They don't have that. They don't have those experiences. They can't have those experiences because a long time ago in their childhood, they wanted to play. They wanted to have fun. They wanted to have a good time. But they were shut down for that. They were shamed. They were disapproved of. They were told that they were bad or whatever it may have been. And because of that, now they can't be vulnerable because they feel like they're not good enough. So they can't enjoy anything. They can't have fun because they're too afraid. And this is how it is in the wild with animals. Like if you see a stray cat or dog on the street and you give them a treat, look at how fast they wolf that down. It's like they swallow it whole. They don't even chew it. So there's no way that they can be enjoying it. The flavor, the taste, the texture of the food. And why can't they enjoy it? Why can't they take their time when they consume their food? And of course, the reason why is because with animals in the wild, they're afraid that other animals may steal the food or that they may be attacked by predators. And yes, narcissists are predators. But here's the thing, there's always a bigger predator. They're never going to be the meanest, the baddest, the biggest. So they are always paranoid and hypervigilant. They're always scared, they're always afraid. They can never be vulnerable, they can never have fun. Because they're always looking over their shoulder. And they're also afraid of being abandoned, of being exposed. So they're constantly seeking approval and validation. They're constantly worrying about what other people think. They're gauging them for reactions because they've got to get that narcissistic supply. And all of these things prevent them from having what you and I have, which we may take for granted a lot of times, but just these simple feelings of joy, happiness, peace, enthusiasm. They don't have any of that. They don't get to experience that in life. And yet we wonder, why is it so difficult to maintain a relationship with them? Why are we never on the same wavelength? We're never on the same page. Nothing ever goes right. This is why. Because they're missing that. And yeah, they do have emotion, but it's negative emotion. They don't really get to experience happiness, joy, or love. And that's why, because they operate mostly in the emotional realm. They don't want to see you healing, moving on, feeling good about yourself. You're looking good, happy, healthy, you're glowing, and you're experiencing things in life. They do not want to see that because it is not like that for them. Otherwise, I mean, people who are happy, people who are having a good time, people who things are going right for them, they want that for you. And they do not want to see you stuck. They do not want to see you down. They do not want to see that at all. Because that's just how it is. It's almost like natural human behavior. Is that we want other people to feel how we feel. We want people to feel the same way. And this is why when you see them with all of these flying monkeys, this is how they manage to do that. Because they've just found other people who feel the same way as they do. Just as I managed to find all of you and you managed to find me. Because we feel the same way about narcissists. And yet, we just wanted love. We wanted a relationship. We wanted someone to share experiences with. But they don't get to experience that. With them, it's more just about, what can I get? What can I take? What can I rob from this person? Because they can't share anything with you. They can't share anything because they're constantly on edge. They're afraid. They fear being abandoned, being exposed. They fear that you're going to see who they really are. And even when they feel like, all right, it's relatively comfortable, there's no threat of abandonment or exposure, even then, even when they feel like they're not going to be abandoned or exposed, which really they're pretty much always paranoid and hypervigilant. But let's just entertain that situation for a moment. Even then, when they feel like everything's relatively safe, then they're seeking narcissistic supply, which is only for themselves. It's just to make themselves feel better. This is why they do not want to see you heal. They do not want to see you moving on. They do not want to see you going out into the world and having experiences that they are never going to have. That they are never going to have. And this is why they do what they do. This is why they go off, they float their news source, they go on trips together, they go for a nice meal in a fine dining restaurant. Whatever they do. And it's kind of like the mentality is, yes, I'm here, I'm doing this with this person, and we're having a great time, we're having an experience that you're not having and that you're not going to have. And as most of you should know by now, pretty much everything they do, it's a projection. They're viewing something in you and it may be completely unintentional on your part, but then they are projecting it back to you. So even though, and this is really sad, but this is how it is. This is how it is. Even though you may have done your best, you may have done everything in your power, everything you possibly could have to share experiences and situations with them, to build them up, to make them happy, to love them. Even then, they still see it as though it's just you and you're being selfish. It's all just for yourself and they're not included. Almost like you're the narcissist. Because they can't partake in that, they can't experience it. So they're just looking at you as though you're greedy, you're selfish, you're mean. And yet we wonder why at the end of the relationship, they're so arrogant, so entitled, so demanding. They want everything from you, they want your life. This is why, because as far as they're concerned, they never got anything out of it anyway. They were never a part of anything. And I remember an ex-narcissist, after I spent so much money on her, did so many things for her, took her into my home, let her drive all of my cars, took her on trips for years. And I remember at the end of the relationship, and I just couldn't understand why she just turned against me. And she was saying I'm selfish. Naturally, I just thought about all of the things I did for her. And yeah, I said, what about everything I did for you? And then she responded, you didn't do anything. And that's really how it is with them. Because you can't really do anything for them. They don't even view you as a person, you're just an object. And they view themselves as an object as well. It's always all about them. It's all about themselves. It's all about their narcissistic supply. And subduing this fear of abandonment or exposure, preventing that from happening. And that's why they can never enjoy anything. They can never enjoy an experience with you. And this is a big deal to them. That's why they don't want you to move on. They don't want you to have positive experiences after they're gone. And this is why they make such a big scene of flaunting their new source. It's like it's so important to them for you to see that. Because this is what they're seeing in you. This is what they've been seeing in you the entire time, and many of you may not have even been aware of it. They're just seeing it as though it's all about you. You're having such a great time without them. You're happy, they're not. All the while you're trying to share experiences with them. You're trying to make them happy. But they just can't be a part of that. They lack empathy. They have an inability to connect, to share something with you. So they always feel like they're being left out. And that's why by the end of it, they want to leave you out. They want to triangulate you with other people, start a smear campaign against you. And it kind of helps with their anger. They might resolve it for a moment because it's like now they're doing the exact same thing that they felt like you were doing to them. Because they're so caught up with their fear, their paranoia of abandonment and being exposed. And even when they feel like it's relatively safe, they're preoccupied with getting narcissistic supply. That they can't share anything with you. And you can't share anything with them. And that's why by the end of it, you can try to remind them of everything you did to them, did for them. You could try to remind them of that, but they might just turn around and say, you did nothing. And this is why they don't want to see you heal. They don't want you to move on. They just want you to be emotionally dead, just like them. They want you to be miserable. They want you to be angry. And they also want you to be blaming yourself for that. So what do you do if you're in this type of situation? If they're preventing you from moving on? It really depends on the type of narcissist that you're dealing with. Depending on how they might react. But the reality is that if you do try to move on, they may just come back and sabotage you. As I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, it's like a child building a sand castle on the beach, and the other child gets jealous. So they come along and they kick it down. And then you try and build it back up again, and they just kick it down again. Because they can't build something like that. They can't have those same feelings of achieving something, making things happen. And this is why they're narcissists. Because of the fear, the paranoia, the denial. But yeah, this is the message for this video. This is what they want for you after the discard. They want you to remain stuck, miserable just like them, not happy with anything. And they may expect you to fall for their illusions when they're flaunting their new source, making it look like they're having such a great time. But this is how you know that they're not. Because if things were going well for them, they wouldn't be able to stand to see you down and miserable. They would want you to move on. They would want you to be happy. Many of you may have just come out of a relationship with a narcissist, so you may not want that for them just yet. It does take time to move on. But for the narcissist that I was dealing with many years ago, I've moved past that. And as I've said in past videos, I would be happy for them if they moved on. If things got better for them. If they became healthier. And maybe it's because I'm relatively healthy emotionally. I feel good about myself. I feel happy most of the time. At least when I'm not around narcissists. So of course I can want that for someone else. Despite who they may have been, what they may have done to me. Because to some level I have healed. I have moved on. So I'm not harboring negative emotions to them. But as for narcissists, they hold grudges, they're resentful. They're never going to move on. And it's not so much about you as it is to do with their childhood trauma. That's what they can't move on from. And that's why they're always going to be miserable. And they're never going to want you to move on. They're never going to want you to be happy. Whether it's with them or with someone else. 300 live viewers. If you're finding this video helpful so far, please hit the thumbs up button down below. Thank you. Yeah, they're never going to want that for you. Even in the situations where it seems like they've moved on, they've got a new source, they're going on trips, looks like they're having a good time, they're really not. Because if they were, they would want that for you. They would want to see you moving on as well, if they had moved on. But they do not want to see that. They do not want you to move on. Because they can't move on, because they're miserable. Because they're envious and jealous of you. And they know they're never going to have what you have. They're never going to have those experiences. That life, that energy, that enthusiasm. They're never going to have any of that. No matter what they do, no matter what they achieve or obtain, it's not going to make any difference. But it comes so easily for you. You can be happy. You can find fulfillment. They can't, and that's why they're mad. That's why they're envious of you. So I hope this clears some things up for you. Because I know it can be confusing why they do these things. And how it's like they can move on and you can't. But this is it. They're not moving on at all. Or even if they are, if it seems like they are moving on, they're not happy with the new situation. They're not happy with anything. As within, so without. How a person treats you is a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves. Never forget that. Life in the city here. But yeah, I do want you to move on. I do want you to be happy. I do want you to find someone who you love and someone who appreciates you. Even though, I'm not happy every day. I am, but when I encounter narcissists, of course it does affect me. It will always affect you. Actually, it might affect you more even when you're healed. But I believe that things can get better for me. I believe that somehow, some way, I can move past these narcissists. And I can find someone who loves and appreciates me just as much as I love and appreciate them. So of course, that belief in myself and in my future is what causes me to have that hope for you and want the best for you. To want to see you moving on. As I said, how we treat people is a direct reflection of how we feel about ourselves. Unlike these narcissists, we have that belief. We have hope for the future. And if we have that for ourselves, we can have that for other people as well. Just not for narcissists. Because no matter what, they're never going to change. They're never going to want the best for you. Despite that, you can still have compassion for them from afar. And that will help you to heal and to move on. Because when you're holding on to grudges, to resentment, that's only going to hold you back. That's going to prevent you from being happy. But anyway, I hope you found this message helpful today. And if you did, you can show your support by giving it a thumbs up. And also you can donate by going to my PayPal. It is paypal.me/Narc Survivor. Let me know your thoughts about what I've said in the comment section down below. Hit subscribe and click all notifications to be notified when I go live or when I upload a new video. If you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, you can go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And also you can follow me on Instagram. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. I recently uploaded a reel with a baby turtle in my hand and it got over 20,000 plays. So definitely check that out on my Instagram. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. Thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. And I look forward to speaking with you in another one very soon.